On March 15, 2013, 10 days into a server meltdown that had locked huge numbers of paying customers out of a game they already owned, the general manager of Maxis sat down to answer the question a lot of them were asking: why can't I just play this offline? Her answer, in a post titled Straight Answers, was this: could we have built a subset offline mode? Yes, but we rejected that idea because it didn't fit with our vision. Roughly 1 year later, Maxis shipped the exact thing that Sentence said they had rejected. It starts on March 5th, 2013 in North America. SimCity returns as a full reboot of the long-running city building series, and it arrives with one rule baked in that you cannot opt out of. You have to be online just to play, not to install it, not to unlock it. A live server connection is required before you can place a single road. Boot the game up, and the first thing it does is reach out to a server for the go-ahead to let you build. On launch day, the servers could not give it. They buckled almost immediately, demand swamping capacity, and the result is the thing so many players from that week remember. You had bought the game, installed it, clicked play, and landed in a queue behind a countdown timer. There were reports of waits past 30 minutes just to get in, and sluggish, stuttering play once you did. People who had paid full price for a game that feels like a solo experience sat watching a clock tick down, locked out of software, sitting on their own hard drive. And that solo feeling is the detail that turned frustration into fury. SimCity, for a lot of people, plays like a single-player game. You build your city, you zone your neighborhoods, you run your power grid, you watch the little Sims complain about taxes. It feels like you in a map. So the objection wrote itself: if this is basically a game I play by myself, why does a struggling server somewhere else get to decide whether I am allowed to play it at all? The pressure turned concrete fast. Within days, it had spread past angry forum posts and into the storefront itself. Amazon pulled the download version off sale amid the ongoing problems reportedly on March 7th. When a major retailer stops selling your brand new game because it does not reliably work, that is the product failing in public. So on March 8th, EA put up a post to get ahead of it. Half apology and half admission of a miscalculation. And the apology was unusually blunt. Quote, "Okay, we agree, that was dumb. The connection issues, they wrote, began at launch and had improved significantly as they added capacity." Then the more revealing line: "A lot more people logged on than we expected. More people played and played in ways we never saw in the beta. More people playing in ways they never saw in the beta." That is a company admitting its own stress test had not resembled the real thing. When a game's core requirement is a live connection, and the connection is underbuilt, its own popularity becomes the thing that breaks it. The numbers EA offered were at least specific. Server capacity up 120% within 48 hours, and disrupted experiences cut by roughly 80%. And then the peace offering. Headline something for your trouble. Every eligible SimCity owner would get a free PC game from EA's catalog, redeemed through Origin, with codes going out by email starting March 18th. The menu was not junk either. You could pick Battlefield 3, Dead Space 3, or Mass Effect 3. There was Plants vs. Zombies, Need for Speed, Most Wanted, Bejeweled 3, Medal of Honor Warfighter, or, with a certain grim humor to it, SimCity 4 Deluxe, the older game that ran just fine on your machine without asking anyone's permission. One free game, your choice. A free copy of Dead Space does not answer the real question, though. Why does this game need to be online at all? The messaging on that shifted as the crisis wore on. Early on, as the complaints piled up, the official SimCity account reportedly waved the idea away, saying an offline mode was just not possible. Then on March 15th, Maxis GM Lucy Bradshaw stepped up to answer directly and gave a very different account. Her case was not mainly that the connection was copy protection, though it did function as a form of that, and plenty of players read it exactly that way. Her emphasis was that the connection was the architecture of the game itself. Quote, "From the ground up, we designed this game with multiplayer in mind, and then more pointedly, in many ways, we built an MMO." Consider what she's describing: a region, a shared map where your city sits next to other cities, with the servers keeping that whole neighborhood's state current for everyone in it. She listed the specific jobs those servers were doing: keeping the region simulation in sync across players, powering great works, the big cooperative builds multiple cities chip in on, running a global market where cities trade, updating how each city looks to its neighbors, and validating that safe cities were, in her word, legit. There is a technical detail here that would matter later. Critics pushed back hard. and the reality turned out to sit in the middle. The core city simulation, the part you actually interact with, ran substantially on your own machine. The genuinely shared pieces, the region syncing, the trading, the cooperative mega projects were the parts that really needed the servers. The honest read is somewhere in between. Some of it truly did live in the cloud, but the building you actually did, sitting there with your city, ran on your own machine. The shared region was the part that leaned on the servers. Then came the sentence that outlasted everything else in the post. The admission you heard at the start of this video. Bradshaw addressed the offline demand head on and conceded the key point. An offline mode had been within reach. They had simply chosen not to build it. That concession is why you cannot flatten this into a story about something being impossible, and it is why the earlier just not possible had not aged well. Maxis was not claiming offline play was beyond them. They were saying it was a lesser version they had deliberately passed on, and the timing matters. EA reported SimCity sold more than 1.1 million copies in roughly its first 2 weeks. Maxis was making this stand right after a very strong launch. The popular version of the story gets the timeline wrong. It is tempting to say Maxis dug in, and the vision simply held for a year until they suddenly caved. That is not what happened. The offline question never went away, that part is true. It sat under the patches and updates that followed. But behind the scenes, the stand was already bending. By some accounts, the engineering work started within months of launch, around that summer. And in October 2013, Maxis said it publicly. The studio announced it had a team dedicated to exploring an offline mode, though it stopped short of a firm promise. The reversal was not a single dramatic day. It began as a public acknowledgement in the autumn, followed by the slow part nobody sees, because building it was real work. This was not a hidden switch someone flipped. By the account of the engineer who led it, the offline mode took more than 6 months to build, and it meant genuinely re-engineering parts of the game, reworking how the region simulation ran so it could work locally, adding real local save and load, and pulling out or replacing the calls that used to reach for a server. The vision did not just quietly hold and then snap. It was taken apart, piece by piece, over most of a year. Then, on March 18, 2014, the offline mode shipped. It came in a free update, Update 10, and inside it was a full, official offline single-player mode. No live connection required to play. You still needed to get online once to download the patch, and it still ran through EA's launcher in your account, but the core demand was met. Your regions and cities now saved locally, on your own machine, and you could build during any outage, with no server standing between you and the game. The subset offline mode Bradshaw had described a year earlier as the thing they rejected, Maxis had now built, packaged, and delivered automatically the next time you logged in, at no cost, and the framing was pointed. The announcement quoted GM Patrick Buchner, "We've listened to our players, and today we are delivering against their most direct feedback with the release of the new single-player mode. Not an evolving vision, not a maturing technology." By the company's own account, player feedback was the thing it chose to put front and center, even if the engineering and the product calculus sat right alongside it. The two dates draw the whole shape. March 15, 2013 to March 18, 2014. A year and 3 days between calling that idea a bad fit for their vision and shipping it for free. The story resists a clean ending because the offline mode was a reversal, not a total surrender. It was the subset, and Maxis meant the word. Turning the connection off cost you things, by design. The features genuinely built around the shared world stayed on the server side of the line. SimCity World, leaderboards, achievements, the live pricing in the global market, cloud saves, go offline, and those went dark. What you got was the city builder itself, playable during any outage, but a quieter game than the connected one. The offline mode proved part of Bradshaw's original point, even as it overturned her conclusion. Some of those systems really were multiplayer. The shared region really did need the servers. That part of the defense was true. What it could not carry was the leap from there to locking a person out of the single-player city, sitting on their own computer during an outage, which is the complaint that kept coming back all along. And underneath all the noise, the arc is simple. Maxis shipped the very thing it had rejected in writing, the byline still on the sentence that said it wouldn't.